to a start. It is Anfield Agenda time. Craig is set for the day and the news. Sit back and relax, grab a coffee and chill, and enjoy the shenanigans tonight. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, 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 Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda.
What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, where as always it's a pleasure to be here with you. So, how we doing? FA Cup draws in. We know who we're playing. It's Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Exactly. That's a blast from the past, I tells you. Accrington Stanley. We love that. Honestly, what a draw that is. A home as well. I'm sure the Accrington staff, players, fans are all buzzing for that one. So yeah, do you know how bad my day is going? I just recorded the preview for the Newcastle game just before I started the stream. Clicked on playback to check it, and it had booted off my mic, so it was silent. So I have to re-record the whole thing again. So yeah, loads of work for me to do today. And again, thank you to everyone that joined us earlier on the Red Mist podcast, where we discussed lots of stuff. I have to say, I need to sort that chat out. Glitching bad every half second. I don't know what to say then. I don't know what's going on with the sound. I've no idea then. I'm really having a shit day today with the audio. It's on the right setting. Yeah, people are saying sounds alright. Sounds good for Connor. So yeah, anyway, I need to sort out the chat in the Red Mist, because some of those comments that went in there today, just unacceptable on every level. And they weren't even aimed at me. I was just reading some of the comments, and yeah, not great. So anyway, look, loads to get through today. So we're going to talk about the title race. We're going to talk about Mohamed Salah, and we're going to talk about the fact that suitors are lining up for Mo. $250 million Saudi contract looks like it's going to be put on the table. Reports about PSG as well being interested. We're going to talk about that tonight. And we're going to ask, what is it going to take for compromise to be reached here between both sides? So yeah, let's go through it all. Let's start off with, I guess, a report I didn't mention earlier on. It comes in from Caught Offside, and it said Liverpool are stepping up their pursuit of Kirkez. The Hungarian fullback is expected to leave in January, and Bournemouth want £40 million, according to this report, which is 10 million quid less than the last report. Maybe they're taking off money for the mullet. I don't know, because, you know, they should. If they haven't, that mullet deserves to be knocked back by about 10 million alone. So yeah, there we go. So Regan said, told you Salah will stay. Well, there is no confirmation he's staying, so I don't know what you're so confident about, mate. We don't know yet. I hope you're right. God, I very much do, but yeah, we don't know what's going on yet. So loads for us to get through tonight. We're going to speak mainly about Salah. So whether you're happy about that or not, he is the main talking subject today, because there's been a whole multitude of reports out there about Salah. And look, at this point, I'm just getting frustrated and confused by it all. So let me read you through the earlier stuff today from The Athletic, and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll move on to some of the reports later on tonight. So the first few things I'm going to read out are mainly about Salah staying at the club and what it might take. So let's go through some of The Athletic's comments. So they've said Mohamed Salah would accept a 1-year contract at Liverpool, but is growing increasingly exasperated at the club's handling of negotiations. I don't blame him. I'm getting completely fed up with it all at this point as well. And I don't think a 1-year contract extension is good for anybody in this scenario. I don't think it's good for him. I don't think it's good for us fans. I don't think it's good for the club, because it gives us the exact same headache and the exact same things we'll be talking about next season. So it just kicks the can down the road for me. I would like it to be a minimum of 2 years so everybody knows where they stand. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but do let me know. Also, it said Mohamed Salah is still waiting for Liverpool to reveal its position in relation to the length and terms of any potential deal, amid interest from top European clubs in signing him on a free. I've got more questions than answers about this, to be honest, folks. How have Liverpool not told Mo what they're thinking in contract terms with regards to either a number or a length? Surely Rami Abbas has had that conversation. And if not, I think we've got bigger problems. You know, how could he not know what Liverpool are thinking? I'm sure Rami Abbas must have some feelers out there with Liverpool about what they're thinking. So that was the next thing The Athletic said. We'll move on to another part now where it said Liverpool have consistently maintained that discussions with Salah through his representative Rami Abbas have been positive and are still ongoing. But Salah is frustrated at the pace of talks and unconvinced the club will meet his expectation on terms. The next part said Salah's priority is to extend his stay at Anfield and he is not agitating to leave. Yet he also believes he is amongst the best players in the world and the terms of any new deal should reflect that status and his performance levels this season. And finally it said Salah believes he is approaching his peak and will maintain his levels. He is desperate to win the Premier League and Champions League with Liverpool this season. So what I will say on this one, folks, is that line about Salah feels he is approaching his peak, I can't buy into that. I'm sorry. You know, I'll defend Mo to the hilt on here, but he's past his peak. And I'm not having it. You know, he's going to be 33. There isn't a single part of me that believes we haven't seen him peak physically, mentally. Maybe not performance-wise, because we are seeing very interesting numbers this season from Mo. But yeah, that's the one line that sticks out to me that I just, I'm sorry, I'm not having that. He's already peaked. So was Virgil, and so was any player at this point of their careers. Now, we can still talk about how great he is, and the numbers this season speak for themselves. You know, we spoke about another statistic that he's broken. Him and Wayne Rooney now 36 times. They have scored and assisted in the same Premier League game. Only those two now at the top, so only Mo capable of pushing on from that. But yeah, I think if we're being fair and realistic about this, do you know what? Let's start that off with a poll, because I'm genuinely interested to see how you guys feel about the whole peak comment. 1 second. Right, so simple question. Is Mohamed Salah past his peak? I'm going to put that in, yes or no, into the chat. It should be. I'm hoping common sense prevails here, because all of us want him extended. All of us believe he's still doing great numbers. And all of us know, physically, Mo is in a great place. But this approaching his peak line, that's just PR nonsense from any side. Even to write that, Salah feels he's approaching his peak. Come on now. Come on. I know you got to do, you got to stand your ground and all, but I'm not buying that. I'm just not having it. When Salah takes his shirt off, he's as ripped as you, Craig. We do go to the same gyms, just obviously a very different workout routines. He actually does something while I sit in the snack bar. He's incredible, isn't he? Physically, he's absolutely incredible. Right. So, Bradley, thank you, mate, for a super chat of the day. Bradley said, it seems only logical that the longer his contract, the more we would sell him for. So, it could only benefit the club to keep him. I mean, I guess there has to be two sides to all of this. And I don't think Salah would be signing a contract thinking that he'd want the club to sell him. So, and you have to be honest about that as well. 2 years just feels the common sense answer here. For me, anyway. Hope you're good. I'm an Arsenal fan. Do you think we beat Man United in both games coming up at the Emirates? Yes, I do, Val. Very much so. I think you'll beat them comfortably on Wednesday in the league. They're without a couple of players through suspensions and injury. You guys are at home. I can't see anything but an Arsenal win on Wednesday. Bush Baptist said, he may be ripped, but it's not his abdomen that plays football. So yeah, look, as a player gets older, for me, certain things they get better at. Decision making, reading the game, knowing when to use their physicality, maybe when to rest up for a moment. So they gain knowledge and, you know, different ways of influencing a game of football. But also, he has lost a yard of pace. He's still fast, but he's not the Mohamed Salah of days gone by. So, yeah, for me, I think, look, he's on a very, very slow decline. And he's not far off his peak, but I'm just not having that line personally. So we asked, is Salah past his peak? So far, 54% say no, he isn't past his peak, and 46% say yes. I'm genuinely astonished at that, to be honest with you guys, because I don't know of any player that's heading for 33 that anybody would describe as not being past their peak. You know, he's not taking on players as well as he used to. He's not as quick as he used to be. I fail to see how he's not a little bit past his peak. Now, maybe you're thinking, Craig, hang on. You're judging him on those things, but let's look at the numbers. And numerically this season, he's in great form. But we do have to take a couple of things into account here, and I think the club also have to take a couple of things into account. We've been fortunate this season that we've had no AFCON. He's been given a couple of international windows where he's had limited to no travelling or playing with the Egyptian national team. He also got a full rest in the summer. So we've seen the benefit of that this year. Can we say moving forward in a year or in 2 years that these same things are going to apply? No, we can't. So there will be times next year and the year after where he's away with Egypt. He's playing in AFCON games and he's doing stuff that will tire him. So maybe that's where we need to increase the size of the squad a bit or something. But we do have to be mindful of these things because it's almost a perfect storm for Mo this season. He's playing brilliant. Arna's doing well. The team are doing well. So yeah, we do have to keep that in mind. Presumably he wants what Erling Haaland earns. Well, he's not going to get that at Liverpool. So, you know, there has to be some trade-off here. So, for the familiarity of staying where he is, of his family being settled, of playing in a team that's challenging, of being idolised and adored, that has to carry some weight in this situation as well. So, if you're Liverpool, you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, where else can he go that he's going to have all of this and feel as a home as he does? So, you know, we do have to look at it from both sides. As fans, we all want Salah to stay. We all want Salah to sign. But it can't be just at the expense of common sense either. There does have to be a middle ground in here. And both people, the club and Salah, have to compromise on this. Rachel said, I'm not saying anything about Mo Salah. I got talked down to the other day on this chat. Here. By who? Certainly wasn't by me, Rachel. Yeah, I don't stand for any crap in the chat. So I don't know who spoke down to you, but all I can do is apologise if you felt that way. It's certainly not the environment that I want to have in my chat, as you know. I I removed people from the other podcast earlier on that the misogyny and some of the bullshit in there was terrible and shouldn't be accepted. So, you know, whilst I only have a limited time here to deal with this situation, Rachel, again, I will look into it if you give me a bit more information, because I don't know who spoke down to you, but it certainly wasn't me that I'm aware of. And if it was me, I'm absolutely happy to own to that and figure it out. But I just don't have a recollection of it. So another thing we need to understand as well is we all aim for everybody in here to get on, to be happy. Sometimes we will disagree. Sometimes the chat will disagree. I guess it's about how we react to this and how we make sure that we can disagree with each other if we do so in a respectful way. Right. Corbin said, if they sold Salah and we got Rodrigo, happy. Oh, I don't know if I'd use the word happy. Oh, here we go again with the internet. Sorry, I can see that my internet's dropping down and I'm absolutely just... I've had enough at this point with Sky. Honestly, I've had enough. It's never ended. So anyway, I wouldn't say I'd be happy, mate, but I would certainly think it would be an adequate replacement, as much as I don't think it's likely to happen. Honestly, my heart's broke with the internet stuff. The amount of time we're on the phone to Sky lately trying to get this sorted, it's crazy. It's all I can say is sorry again. We'll carry on. If you can hear me, great. If not, I do apologise. David said, at this point, what does Mo have to do? He's scoring all around him. He's playing out of his skin and he deserves it. I don't think, David, it's even a question, bro, that he deserves it. I'm with you. You know, every one of us here. I think, you know, I'll go even a little step further than your good self, David. I think it's quite an embarrassing act that we're in this position, mate. I think it's embarrassing that the club are being basically called out on it. And embarrassing because they should be called out on it is what I'm saying. Like, I have a very different stance on Jamie Carragher about all of this. I think that this is... I'm embarrassed that Mo has to feel like he needs to do this to get this contract moving along. It quite simply is a disgrace. And if anybody isn't saying that, I don't know what to say. I don't. You know, how can you get us to this point where we're in a position in the league where we're absolutely flying? Everybody's on the same page. The manager's working absolute miracles. The players are responding to it. And I just don't understand. I don't understand how we still haven't got anything resolved. I've asked this question loads of times that I don't know what Hughes has been doing since he's come to Liverpool. Truly, I have no idea. Like, all we get told is, oh, these are complicated things. I know, fair enough, but you've had long enough now. I think... I don't know, I'm starting to fear it. I'm starting to fear it because I can't see a rational reason anymore why it's being dragged out. And the more I hear from Salah's camp about the situation, so those athletic comments from earlier on, the more it feels like he hasn't even been given the information about how long the club want to keep him. I mean, that's astounding. It is absolutely astounding to me that the club haven't... Like, I thought right now, hand on heart, right now I expected us to be at the small details part of these negotiations. So, you know, image rights, bonuses on goal scoring. Same with Virgil. But it doesn't seem like we're even close to that. And something stuck in my mind earlier on. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the interview we did with David Lynch. Something David said stuck in my head. And it was, between now and the end of the season, Liverpool have to get this resolved, yada yada. I don't think we can even let it go that long. I think we can't. Like, for me, and I can only speak for me, it's between now and the 1st of January. You know, you can't let this go into the season past January. Because at that point, the floodgates are open. Anybody can chat with them. We can't stop them. You know, it it feels more like we are making excuses if we allow it to get to the point where we're thinking end of the season. It has to be January before then. It has to be, surely. Jonathan Kirkley said 2-year deal with a further 1-year deal if fitness is okay. Yeah, that would be, for me, Jonathan, for Virgil and for Mohamed, I would say 2-year guarantee, 1-year club option, and go from there. I can absolutely understand the club not wanting to look past 2 years guaranteed. That's common sense. But to not even have communicated maybe what you're thinking in that regard, at least if we're taking what the Athletic are reporting, that they're being told from that camp, or that they're hearing, if we take that as a fact, then I'm very confused as to what's going on. Because somebody somewhere is telling porkies. George, thank you, George. 15 months as a member. Always great to see you in, sir. Said, hey Craig, hope you and the family are doing well. We have had an amazing season so far. I really hope everyone stays. What do I think of Kirkes? I think he's good, but I'm not yet at that point of committing to him being the one that I want, George. There's still 2 or 3 in my mind. He's one of them. I like the guy from Club Brugge, and I also think that we should be still keeping an eye on ENQUIRIES, but certainly we do need to keep that. But for me, George, and I can only speak for me, I'm not thinking about left backs till the summer. You obviously want to lay the groundwork in and make sure that you've got your ducks in a row, but I think the priority has to be midfield first. Tanya said, this will impact on the team's performance 100%. So I'm just going to use Mohamed Salah's own words here to make my point. So at the moment, we all agree things are going well. Players look happy. But Salah said himself, it's in his head. He said it. It's getting in his head. He's thinking about it. And we can't allow that to transmit to doubting, second guessing, decision making. Will I pass? Will I score? If I take it on myself and I score, will that move the contract on? Should I lay it off? These are the things that human beings have to deal with. So I believe him wholeheartedly when he said it's in his head, because why wouldn't it be? You don't know if in 7 months' time your family's going to have to uproot, find a new home, put your kids in new schools, find a new shopping centre, find a new church, find a new whatever, or a new mosque, excuse me. I find, lots of normal everyday things that when you're settled, allows you to do your best on the football pitch. Your family are happy, your kids like the area, they've got their friends in school. These are all important. Right, I have a couple of super chats to go through. Cohen, thank you, mate. Said, I said this would happen with Hughes. He thinks we're Bournemouth. I knew Edwards was a bad idea. He demanded too much to enhance his portfolio. FSG out. Well, look, mate, you know where I stand on the owners. My feelings are pretty clear on that one. But I find it very hard to complain when we are where we are. I find if I started moaning about the owners now, I feel like I'd be doing you all a disservice, because I don't want to rock the boat. I'm delighted with where we are. Yes, I still think they're cheap, and I will always believe they're cheap till they prove me otherwise. But right now, we don't know what January's going to bring. We will discuss and go through that when January arrives, and if we don't strengthen, I think we have every right to fear that maybe we'll have a little bit of a fall off in the second part of the season. But right now, all I know as a fan is this recruitment team and these owners and Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, they brought us Arne Slot. And Arne Slot has proven to be the right call. They looked at Amarim, they looked at others, but ultimately they came with Arne Slot. They have to get credit for that. They do. We've got to be sincere in this. They deserve credit for that. But they don't rest on their laurels, right? What we can't have happen is go, all right, we've had this great start. Well, let's see how it goes. Because we've rolled that dice way too many times. And it never comes up right for us. So we have people from other fan bases feeling we're going to bottle it. feeling we're going to fall apart second half of the season. Some of that is wishful thinking on their behalf, but some of it's based off last season and the fact that whether we as Liverpool fans want to admit this or not, we did fall away. We did lose at Goodison. We did throw away a chance of winning the league because of fatigue, injuries, a lack of rotation, options. So I think it's okay to be happy as well as call out what we need to call out. There was another super chat I have to get on to, so bear with me 1 second. A. said, Craig, love your videos, brother. Thank you so much. I'm a Liverpool fan from New York, so I've no idea, but how does somebody get tickets? So, I'm going to give you an honest answer. I bought my tickets to the game I'm going to in January from the club, from the corporate hospitality section, and I paid £380 sterling for a ticket for me and £380 sterling for a ticket for Connor. Now, I'm the most watched Liverpool fan channel in the world, and I don't have a way of getting tickets. I could maybe call in a favour, but I don't know the answer to it because there is no easy answer. For me, it was a case of, do you lean on a sponsor? Do you hope you can get sorted out by somebody? But for me to have the peace of mind to know that I'm getting the ticket to go to the game and I'm definitely going to, get that ticket, I had to cough up £760 sterling for me and Connor to go to the game. And it feels disgusting because I know I'm going to be sitting in a shit part of the Carlsberg dugout, right at the very wing of it. But that's what I had to do. So, yeah, I don't have an easy answer, mate. I would never steer people towards touts or anything like that. But I tell you what, I don't half feel like I've been fleeced, because the same ticket that I paid £380 to the club for, I've seen available on other sites that are associated and affiliated to the club for £150 later on. So, yeah, it's pretty hard to get tickets unless you're willing to cough up for the really expensive ones at this point. And that's just the way football is going, unfortunately. If you're from New York, join the official New York Supporters Club. I joined the Delaware Supporters Club and got 2 tickets for $90 total, and there were 9 rows from the pitch. There you go. So yes, that shout to join the support an OLSC is a great shout. OLSCs often have access to so many tickets per season. And I know this because when I was in Dublin, before I started making content, I was a member of an OLSC in Dublin. And like that gentleman just said there, face value tickets, limited in the amount that they get, and sometimes you're on a rotational basis inside your own OLSC, but it's definitely a good shout from our friend there from Delaware. Eno, how are you, mate? Let me get up your comment, Ian, 1 second. So Ian said, there we go. Give Mo 2-year contract. Great show, mate. And thank you for being a member with us, Ian, for 13 months as well. I think every single person would agree with you, Ian, on 2 years. Wow, you guys are really surprising me here. But look, it is a democracy. We're going to go and leave this vote up a few more minutes. We're nearly at 1,000. So the question I asked you guys is Salah past his peak? So 60% have said no, and 40% have said yes. Interesting. I guess it's open to interpretation, what I meant by that question, isn't it? Like, is he past his peak? Maybe I should have asked, is he still in his peak? Because I'm sure that's probably what a lot of you guys are feeling, that he's maybe at the tail end of his peak, but he is still in there. But it's been an interesting one, and they will finish it up there. 60% said no, he isn't. 40% said yes, he is. So thank you to those who voted. I don't get why not a 3-year contract. I mean, if he loses his form, we can always sell him. So you know this idea that many of us have about selling a player. You know that the player has to agree to that sale. And if the player agrees to that sale, is probably going to lose a load of dough compared to what they could have got if they left on a free. So as an example, for this season, there was no way Liverpool were going to be able to sell Mohamed Salah in the summer with 1 year to go. His agent made that very clear. Mo made that very clear. So I don't think we ever do have the option now to sell if we extend him. Because if we extend him, I fully believe he wants to see out that deal and be here for that. So we've got to be honest about this as well and respectful of the player. And the reason why not 3 years, for me, is you've got the rest of this season to go, so all the way to next May. So then he's going to be 33, and 3 more after that. It seems a lot. It seems a lot, because there is risk associated there. Because what happens if he does? I don't see it happening, but what happens if he does in 18 months start to sharply decline or gets run down because of international games and other stuff? I think 2 years with an option is the sensible one, but would I rather 3 years than lose him? Yes, of course. Craig, what was the offer for Salah? About to get to it in a minute, mate. We're going through this in 2 halves. So I've gone through all the stuff the Athletic said. Now let me take you through some of the stuff coming from the European side. So Sasha Tavalieri, who I would say take with a pinch of salt, has said Mohamed Salah has become Saudi Arabia's top priority. The project is clear: to make him the new standard of the Saudi League, with a contract exceeding $250 million. Although Salah does not see himself returning to the Middle East, the player's family would prefer to stay in Europe. So it feels like he doesn't want to go to Saudi based off pretty much everything we've seen. It is a huge contract offer there. 250 million quid would be a lot of dough. But as everybody points out, he still feels he's got unfinished business in Europe. And to that extent, there's also another one. So it claims that the idea of Paris Saint-Germain being linked and interested in Mohamed Salah makes sense, which would allow him to stay in Europe while also getting the long-term contract that he's looking for with the deserved remuneration. That's fair enough, but he's also going to be playing in France for a shit team. You know? So this idea that, oh yeah, PSG can reward him properly. Yeah, if he wants to go and play in the French league with nobody watching. And he doesn't want to ever win the Champions League. You know, does he really care about winning French league titles? I doubt it. So I don't buy into that either. So, you know, if you're going to Paris, you might as well be going to Saudi in my mind, because you still ain't winning the Champions League. You've same amount of chance to win at PSG as you do if you go to Saudi. None. So yeah, I don't buy into that narrative either. Maybe PSG 3 years ago you might have thought, but right now they are absolutely nowhere. So yeah, he's too good for PSG is what I'm basically trying to say. And look, we know that he's very friendly with their president. We've seen that previously. They were having lunch together, I think, after a Bournemouth game. So we know that there's certainly probably an interest there to bring him over. But again, Liverpool do have one big ace up their sleeve here, and that is that Mo wants to be here. But you can only push that so far before maybe he starts to fear a lack of respect. And that's one word that I think could summarise all of this negotiation. Where Mohamed Salah comes from and who he is, it is about feeling respected and feeling like he is getting paid as one of the greatest footballers in the world, which he undoubtedly is. So, you know, if I'm Liverpool, whatever you do with an offer, you've got to make the guy feel respected and loved, and that you are serious about keeping him. That's the one word of warning, I guess, if I could give, I would give. A couple of super chats to get through before I move on to some Frimpong stuff. So, just came back home from the match. It was so awesome sitting in the cop. Goosebumps. You never walk alone. Said Water. Thank you. An unbelievable game to go to as well, mate. You know, what a victory. It was as comprehensive as a 2-0 victory, Wouter, as you're ever going to get, bro. I think I called you Walter. My apologies there, Wouter. Yeah, what a game. James said, just wanted to say thank you. Oh, thank you, mate. That's very kind of you. You don't need to thank me, but thank you very much nonetheless. Appreciate your support. Alex Macklin, thank you, mate, for your membership as well. Said, just give Mo and the other two the contracts that they deserve. PSG are terrible. Why go to Paris? How are things going at PSG? Nowhere near Champions League winners. I agree. You might as well go to Saudi at that point, in my eyes, if you're going to PSG. Paskey said, I don't understand the 1 year extension. If it was offered to him, 2 year option, which with a third makes more sense. So, mate, I'm with you. I totally don't understand the idea of a 1 year extension because it just kicks the can down the road and we'll be having the same arguments next year. And for him, from his perspective, it would very much weaken his negotiating stance next year because, you know, unless you continue up this unbelievable form all the way through to then and probably half of next season, the club are just going to look for any sign of you dropping off there. So I wouldn't budge for 1 year if I was him. The fact that that piece in The Athletic said he was even willing to do that surprised me because, as I've mentioned, I don't think it would be prudent to give him 1 year. I think 2 years is respectful and is fair as well. Right, so LFC Transfer Room have credited Christian Falk on this, and they say Liverpool are indeed looking at getting Jeremy Frimpong and mentioned that he actually has a release clause in his contract worth 33 million. Well, we know that. We know about the release clause. That's been spoken about quite a bit. But I would be shocked if Liverpool move for Frimpong because I just don't see that he is the right type of player that we would need if indeed we lost Trent. You know, he's not really a right back. So yeah, I've never really believed that, and I don't believe most of what Christian Falk says most of the time, to be honest with you. But, you know, I know a lot of people would like Frimpong. For me personally, I'll be shocked if we did go after him. Now, the release clause is certainly a tasty number. 33 million quid seems very reasonable. I meant to say that Dalot makes me think Trent wants to stay. Well, there is something on Dalot, actually, I'm going to move on to in a second. Now, I think this came from the Eye newspaper, and they say Real Madrid will make a £50 million offer for Diogo Dalot in January. They are keen to move for Dalot now, rather than wait for Trent Alexander-Arnold next summer. Yeah, sure thing. I definitely believe that. So it was Pedro Porro last week that they had doubts about Trent, and now it's Diogo Dalot. And I'm not knocking the Diogo Dalot for 50 million quid, but they're not fooling anyone. They're just ramping up the pressure, trying to get Trent to make a decision. And look, to be honest with you, I am getting to the point where I'm getting a pain in my arse with Trent not making a decision. I can't lie. I am. You know, because there's two things that need to happen here. We need to hear that he wants to stay, and we haven't. And then we need to figure out the club side of it. But right now, honestly, I can't lie, it's pissing me off that we don't know that Trent wants to stay. And the more it goes on, the more angry I'm getting internally. You know, I've been biting my tongue, I've been trying not to say too much, but we've heard Virgil, we've heard Mohamed, both say, I want to stay. I haven't heard that from Trent. And that does not sit right with me for a local boy who's spoken previously about wanting to captain the club. And I get that people are going to say, Craig, he wants to deal with it privately, behind the scenes. And I understand that. But that doesn't mean he still can't come out and say, this is where I want to play my football. And that, I can't lie, man. I can't. It's pissing me off. You know, I can only be honest about it. My take from this discussion, said Madeni, Salah remains the most underrated player ever. Even our own club underestimates him. It is embarrassing, mate, as I've said many times, to get to this position where there's nothing happening. Accrington Stanley striker and boyhood fan Jack Wood's reaction to finding out he's going to be playing at Anfield, the magic of the FA Cup. That's genuinely brilliant. I love that story so much. The Accrington Stanley, the staff, the players, the fans are getting a derby against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Yeah, it is a great story tonight. So, on Trent, how do you guys feel about it? Oh, there's the lagging again. again, I'm just sorry. I'm just waiting. I know I'm lagging, so I'm just waiting. And try not to punch my screen. Not at you guys, of course. Nothing to do with you. It's my problem here, and it's embarrassing, to be honest with you. I find the whole thing embarrassing. So anyway, I'll move on. So on Trent, how do you guys feel about it? You know, is it getting in your heads that he hasn't came out and said that he's wants to stay, or do you think you're calm about it anyway? Yeah, because I'm an emotional person at the best of times, so things wind me up or make me happy, probably overly one way or the other. But with this, I don't know. It might be a combination of the fact that we don't know if he wants to stay or go. We don't know where the club are. The whole thing just feels unnecessary. And again, I can't get past all the stuff I've spoken about before. So I can understand Trent being upset when Kloppo was leaving. I can understand him wanting to see what the next manager was like. I can understand him wanting to see if we're going to be competitive. I can understand all of that stuff. But I feel that's all been answered now. So I'm starting to run out of reasons as to why he might not want to stay here. So Naturalist said he's right to keep it quiet. He is, as long as we get the response we're hoping for. Because I promise you, if he comes out and says he's leaving, all this keeping it quiet stuff is going to have a very different take to it. And as I said, saying I want to stay here doesn't mean he doesn't, you know, if he really does want to put it back on the club like Virgil had and Mo has, you know, you can still say I want to stay here and then push it on the club to go, but we're not yet at a number that, or terms that we're happy with. And I would say that would probably just add, again like it has with Mo, more pressure from the fans to go to the club, get it done. So for me, if Trent says, I want to stay here, but we have to sort out the details and we have to make it right, then I think all the fan base goes, get the finger out, Edwards and Hughes, what are you doing? Same way with Mohamed Salah, same way with Virgil van Dijk. We're all thinking, come on now. But we don't have that from Trent yet. Pontus said, I'm super upset also that Trent hasn't gone out and said that he wants to stay. It makes me worried. Now look, he's playing well. I thought he played very, very well against Manchester City for the 70 minutes that he was on. Got himself a beautiful ball over the top, so let's call that a pre-assist for Mo. And certainly impacted the game. Defensively, I thought he had some very good moments as well against Manchester City. First half, he was ran at by Matheus Nunes and dispossessed him with ease. So, you know, I'm even seeing improvements in Trent under Arnold. Mark Bell said, only thing that bothers me about Trent going is that he will go for free. Oh, mate, I hear you. That is punch a hole in the wall levels of frustration, isn't it? You know, I have to say, and there's a super chat from Soul Killer I'm going to come on to in a second. I have to say that for me, I did always wonder if Trent would leave the club someday. I did. But I'd always consoled myself with the idea that if ever Trent did move on, we'd probably bring in a ridiculous fee that would be all profit because he's an academy graduate. So the idea that we didn't learn the lesson from Michael Owen, we maybe didn't learn the lesson from Steve McManaman, we didn't learn the lesson from how close Gerrard got to leaving, astounds me that we are here. Because they don't have the I need to see if he drops off a cliff age-wise argument that maybe you could make for Virgil and Mo. With Trent, he's 100% coming into his prime. What are you at, you clowns? Like, fans should be really angry about this. Just even, like, there's always an excuse, is what I'm trying to get at. Always an excuse as to why we've not done what we should have done. And there's always too many people willing to accept the excuses without pushing back on it. There is nobody I've spoken to from another club, or that's a journalist, or that's a fan, that doesn't feel like we've absolutely shit the bed with Trent, allowing it to get here. Paul Joyce came out and said it previously, feels like somebody's taken their eye off the ball. It is embarrassing that once again we're a club that has to make every penny count, and here comes a potential generational talent walking out the door for nothing. And what makes it even more galling is a local boy. It's just not good enough. Soul Killer said, if we lose Salah, do you think we'll get worse? It's hard to answer now because we don't know who the replacement may be. We also don't know a few other things, like I don't know how Chiesa is going to get on. So if Federico Chiesa turns out to be brilliant, well then that takes a bit less pressure off the replacement for Mo because we're sharing those goals around. So yeah, unsure is the answer, but probably lean more to yes, we would be worse than no. Hoarder said, if Salah signs a pre-contract with Saudi, we will lose the Premier League. He doesn't want to go to Saudi. That's something that's been pretty clear over the last while, is that he's not ready yet to finish playing in Europe. You know, because Europe is where it's at for football. So yeah, he's not finished yet. So again, I don't know. I'm going to say something that's going to make me... I'm leaving myself vulnerable saying this, but I have to be honest. So you know the whole argument about Moneyball, the FSG philosophy, Edwards, Hughes, stats, data, all this other stuff. I feel like the geeks are running the club. And I don't like it. I don't like that there isn't a semblance of humanity to be had there. And that we are looking at things purely from an analytical perspective. And I didn't like it when we heard Hiding His agents come out and say that Hughes was very cold and robotic to deal with. And sometimes I think we're trying to outsmart ourselves and be too clever. This should be a straightforward decision. Give the man a contract. Get your finger out of your arse. Stop embarrassing us yet again. And give the man a contract. And while you're at it, give the other two men a contract as well. Because I'd say there's a good majority of us that feel like they're hoping that this good news, if and when it comes, is going to get them through the January transfer window as well. So if you agree with me that the idea of contract extensions being put late into December to give us a boost, to clear the pathway for a lack of money being spent in January, then I think we have to agree that I'm right about them being cheap. Because that's how it's the only thing that's left that I can even consider, is that that's what they're trying to do. But surely it's not going to wash. You know, honestly, I hate them. I can't say that enough. I fucking hate them. David said, Trent, I love him, but yet again, it's so frustrating. It feels like everything for us, David, is a ball ache. Everything is a drama. Everything is made to be hard work. And it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. Like, if we're not going to go broke as the club. You know, if we give Mo his deal and let's say, you know, it costs X amount over the next 2 years, so what? It's not going to break the club. Like, we have a word in Ireland, I don't know if it's used elsewhere, scabby, miserly, miserable, cheap. And that's all I can see with these owners, is that everything is always cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. And now their cheapness is having us maybe losing a generational talent. And there's still people defending it. There's still people saying that they're brilliant. Honestly, I hate them. I hate them. Edison said, modern day football has evolved. FSG and Salah can easily play beyond into the late 30s. If ever there was, let's say with Salah, if ever there was a person that we could say could do a Ronaldo or a Messi, it's Salah. 100%. Virgil doesn't look like... See, Virgil's a different one because he doesn't rely on pace. He relies on his reading of the game, his movement, his intelligence. And he can lean on those around him if needs be. So Virgil should be absolutely a no-brainer. You know, he can play till he's 36, 37, no problem. Salah, look, I mean, as you've pointed out yourselves many times, just look at him physically. So, right now we've got Liverpool fans joining forces with other fans to protest about ticket prices. You've got the fans on the Kop making banners with their own hard-earned money to urge the owners to pay the greatest player in the last 10 years at Liverpool the going rate to keep him at the club. And I don't know how people don't find that embarrassing, because it shouldn't be that way. It should be a no-brainer. It should be done. It should have been dealt with quickly. You know, they are constantly rubbing our noses in it with their cheapness. Mohamed said, is it possible that FSG don't want to pay better salaries to those three because of finances, seeing that we're such a poor club? Well, one, we aren't a poor club, and two, the whole argument, right, about wages goes out the window when you know for a fact that we freed up a load of dough in the summer. You know, we got some big earners off the books. Thiago was on 220 or 200 grand a week. We saved 18 million quid. So the wiggle room is there. We didn't spend money on transfers really in the summer either. Even the next window, we're going to sell Kelleher, so that's about to bring in whatever that brings in. We've already got the next goalkeeper lined up there in Mamardashvili. That's done. It's astoundingly cheap. And yet people are still like, you just don't get it. These are businessmen, they're clever. I don't give a fuck. I don't care how many zeros he has in his bank account. I care that he's leaving no stone unturned to make Liverpool the best it can be. And the only reply ever is that money, money, money. Everything's money. Money, money, money. We don't have money to do this because the wage bill's so high. Okay, we clear money off the wage bill. Now what's the excuse? Well, we're not sure about his age. If he's fallen off, he's putting up record numbers. Next. Always. I don't understand how people can defend it. It's indefensible. And we say this, by the way, as we see here, 9 points clear at the top of the league, top of the Champions League, and we should all be absolutely cock-a-hoop, over the moon, looking forward to the next 3-4 years under Arne Slot. And to some extent, of course, we are. We're all enjoying what we're seeing. We're all enjoying the feeling. Every time I do a new video with David Lynch and it's come off the back of a win, I look forward to seeing the smile on his face when I see him first. I look forward to the little chat we have before we record. And everybody's buzzing. And we've got a chance to keep that feel-good factor going. Roll it forward. Build momentum. Build a dynasty, a legacy. And no, cheapness is once again causing us headaches. Mohamed said, I get what you're saying. Doesn't move from the fact that the owners are too cheap. Mate, I don't think there has been anybody of note in the content world who has called these owners out for a lack of spending more than me. I have been rinsed by people who think they're better than us for the where's the money John stuff. I have been told I'm not a serious person. I've been told that I'm an embarrassment. And I don't care. Because I know I'm right. They're cheap. Like yourself, Mohammed. I know you're right. They're cheap. And they are. And to me, what they've done is in spite of their cheapness. And I ask what we could do if they loosen the purse strings a bit. How many more league titles might we have had? Could we have had another European Cup? You know? Hannah Tonna said, in my opinion, Mo wants a raise and Trent has mid-career crisis. Look, I totally understand the allure of Real Madrid. I think anybody that's being honest with themselves can get that. But my anger is that we let it get to this point. You know, the club were either naive or stupid to allow Trent to get into this position. Because I've spoken over the years on here a lot about leverage in any negotiation. And the club have none with Trent. And very little with Mo and Virgil, other than the heartstrings argument. And the longer it goes on, this lack of respect or lack of feeling appreciated can turn into anger very quickly with a player or their family or their representatives. And again, it's an unnecessary risk. I don't understand. Regan said, Craig, straight up question, will Liverpool win the league now? I don't know. I'm not at a point yet where I'm going to sit here and say Liverpool will win the league. All I'm comfortable in saying right now is that Manchester City won't be winning it and that they're done for the season. You know, I'm not saying they won't get better. I'm not saying they won't come back up the table a bit, but they're not going to be in the title race. I don't know what it's going to take for me to feel like, yes, we are going to win the league. Maybe if we get through this week and we beat Newcastle and we beat Everton, perhaps I'll feel a bit more. But I'm not there yet. There is a lot of football to be played. But what I would say is, we can dream. You know, reasonably look at it and think, because as much as I backed Arne Slot and as much as I believed he was the right appointment, I would be an absolute stone cold liar if I sat here and told you I thought we'd be in this position. No, I didn't. I thought we'd be second or third. You know, when I said to you, if he can beat the points tally of 83 points, I think it was, from last season, that's a good season. But perspectives change. And right now, we have the opportunity to kick on and win the league. And to do that, I think we have to put our best foot forward in the transfer market. We have to get these contracts sorted out ASAP, because distractions are going to be piled on in the media by opposition fans. And we need to just keep ourselves focused and keep the good momentum going. So, yeah, I'm close, mate. I'm close. I'm certainly dreaming about it. I'm thinking about what it might look like. But there is a lot of football still to be played. And, you know, I'll tell you this, right? I'll answer it this way. If we were to sign a Zubimendi-esque player in January, we're winning the league. We're not getting caught. For me now, I think we're a Van Dijk or a Gravenberch injury away from a headache. I think we could maybe cope a little bit with the centre-back situation with Ibu and Gomez. We could get by there. But I think if Gravenberch was to pick up a knock or did his hamstring, I think then it's a different story. So, yeah, that signing means yes. Without that signing, still a very good chance, but still unsure. Mohamed said, imagine how upset and angry we will be if we've managed to bottle the league because of injuries and not have sufficient backup. So there's a couple of things about that, Mohamed, that I'd like to address. Firstly, I imagine how upset Arne would be because, you know, he's got to this position where he can win the league in his first season. And it will be an incredible accomplishment. The fan base, I would say would be angry, but in years gone by, there seemed to be a lot of people have made excuses for the fact that we've fallen away because of a lack of spending. And I haven't understood it. So, you know, sometimes I wonder if I just view the world a little bit differently. Because winning is everything. And second place is nowhere. You know, nobody gives a shit about second place. I know the owners want Champions League money, and that's understandable, but winning is everything. You know, I grew up being told Liverpool exists to win trophies. So that's the ethos that I think these owners need to be held to. Surely Slot must have been given some assurance he could buy players. I would imagine so, Tony. And you know what? I can also understand that he wanted to get a read of his squad and wanted to have a look to think, okay, who can I trust? Whose fitness is going to hold up over a season? So, he's had a chance now to fully assess. What I don't want to have happen in January is us to be still talking about Zubimendi all the way through January and it just again falling short, or him not changing his mind, or I've been embarrassed by the midfield search. I can't speak to you guys. I'm going to ask that actually. 1 second. No, actually, let me say this then. Oh, here's the lag again. Fuck off. So, my question is, have we been let down in the midfield search with the failures that we've had? So, let me talk you through it perhaps before you have a chance to vote. Go all the way back to Tchouaméni. He was a target, didn't get to him. Bellingham, didn't get to him. Caicedo put in a record bid, still couldn't get it done. Then went in for Lavia, couldn't get that done, he ends up at Chelsea. Then last summer, we have this whole summer where it's dragged out for Zubimendi, only for him to change his mind at the last minute. And I find all of that unacceptable, embarrassing, and head should roll. Quite frankly, it's cutthroat business, this. You get paid a top salary to work in recruitment or at a club like Liverpool. So to have shit the bed on, maybe not Tchouaméni as much, but Bellingham, maybe. Caicedo, 100% shit the bed. Lavia, absolutely. The situation with Zubimendi, complete embarrassment. That isn't good enough. If any other club did that and couldn't bring in a midfielder, we'd be on here laughing at them. And rightly so. So I don't understand again how fans aren't angry. You've one target only, and your whole summer, and you still don't do it. And all we get is excuses. It's just, there's no accountability at times. No plan B, said WR9. Yeah, and look, I guess the answer back to us would be, well, this is the guy he wants. He only wants this guy. But again, I find that hard to believe that a manager will only ever have one player that they'll accept. How with Caicedo? I mean, isn't that self-explanatory, Josh? You win a bid to sign him and you can't convince him to come. So I don't know, I think that's fairly self-explanatory. You put in a world record bid for a midfielder, you win the bid, and then you still don't get him convinced that he's coming to the club. So you got to the point where you bid for a player, so you were clearly of the mindset that he's willing to come. And you win it, and you can't sign him. I mean, to me, that's embarrassing, mate. Because you've been mugged off by the player and his agent. Completely sold the pup. So then I'm going to ask, well, who's making these decisions? Who's reading the body language here? Who's getting a read on the agent and the player? Because you've been just strung along, done up like a kipper. So yeah, huge embarrassment for that one for me. But the day after was even worse. Because then the player who we didn't want to pay 50 million quid for and wasn't worth it, all of a sudden now we're offering 55 for and still losing out on him in Lavia. So the whole circus went from bad to somehow even worse over the space of 24 hours. We're in debt because of the new stand. Bullshit. Sorry. Bullshit. The new stand is being paid for by the extra seats. It was a relatively interest-free loan from FSG to the club. There was, I think, 3% for inflation or something like that in it. That's not a debt that's going to worry anybody, mate. That's going to pay itself off over the course of the few years. And do you know what? FSG get double bubble on that one, because not only do they get you to pay for it, but they also get the value when they sell it on. So they've built a stand, loaning the club money that fully gets paid back to them. It's like you getting a house, building an extension, your neighbour paying for the extension, and then you get to sell the house in the end. It is mental to me that people don't see that. You want credit for doing the bare minimum and you're getting double bubble off it. You're getting a free extension and the value of your asset has gone up. To me, that's the dream. I think any of you guys that own houses there would absolutely love someone else to pay for your extension. Can you do a poll, Craig, win the league or the Champions League? Not for now, mate, because I don't want to jinx it. And I think we've done these before. Most people feel like the league is the one they want. From, my memory of the chats. I'm Champions League because the European Cup's, it's just special to me. But I think most people are the league. So, we asked, have we been let down in the midfield search with the failures? We're going to leave that running. Please do vote if you get a chance. Sorry, I just had to write a quick message. JCF102 said Carragher is adding to the frustration with his comments. I don't get where Carragher's going with it. Honestly, if the whole thing feels like it's becoming an agenda at this point with Carragher, and it feels like he's dug a hole and he won't admit that he can't find his way out of it, I wish he'd just shut his fucking mouth at this point, honestly. Because I don't know many Liverpool fans who've agreed with him. Jack, thank you for the super chat, mate. You retracted your message, but again, thank you, Jack Lynch, for sending the super chat nonetheless, mate. Do appreciate you, sir. Thank you. We're running out of defenders too, said Steve. I mean, look, to be fair, that's just normal injuries. I mean, if I'm being honest, Steve, looking at it, we have 2 left backs, 2 right backs, 4 centre backs. Maybe like a 5th centre back, but I think we are as stocked as anybody else in that regard. So I think we've just been unfortunate with some injuries, which, as Arne Slot has said, is part and parcel of a league campaign or a season. Till Sheen said, Carra's starting to get too big for his boots again. We know what happened the last time he got that way. Look, I like Jamie Carragher. He's one of my idols. And I take no pleasure in disagreeing with him on stuff. And I try to be as respectful as I can when I speak about it. But I just don't see... I can understand the first comment. I don't understand him then jumping onto social media and, starting arguments with Liverpool fan accounts on there and continuing it on after the Sunday game. I don't know, basically. I don't understand why he keeps ramming home this point. Salah is free to do what he wants to do. He's free to ask the club to hurry it along. He's free to go to the media and talk to them or not. I just don't see... I don't see why he keeps talking about it. Anthony said, I'm just sick of the FSG defenders, to be honest, trying to justify the lack of transfer activity by they expanded Anfield argument when it's literally done to generate these lot money. Yes. The arguments that like that, they saved us bullshit, that does my head in as well. And the it's not the Liverpool way crap certainly does my head in. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I agree in everything you've said there. It does my head in as well. I don't understand why we're cheering on for accountants. I don't get it. I honestly just wish we went for Lavia originally. I hand on heart believe Caicedo lacks the on-ball ability to thrive with a slot side. Can't say the same for Lavia, unfortunately. So, look, I think Chelsea have got two good players there in Lavia and Caicedo, to be honest with you. And I wasn't really as much up on Lavia when he was being signed from Southampton. I didn't know all that much about him. I just knew that we were interested. But I look at the midfield that they have there now of Enzo, Lavia, Caicedo, and, you know, it's a good midfield. So is ours, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, once again, we've had a situation where we've reinvented somebody to suit a role rather than actually ponying up the dough. And now we don't even have a backup there, so yeah. I thought Slott's team was brought in to help stop players getting too many injuries. Yeah, and to be fair, mate, they are only human, you know. Like, as an example, he's rotating earlier. He's giving players breathers. And some of the injuries, you know, have been unfortunate. But I think what I would say more than... And look, it is a fair point you've raised. But we're never going to have no injuries. But I guess it's difficult to equate the ones you prevent, right? You know, we don't know what they've done that maybe has saved somebody from a bigger... Like, here's a good example. When Trent went off in the game that he did with his hamstring, we did it very quickly. There wasn't a go back out there, see if you know, can play on for a few more minutes. He felt a niggle, communicated to the bench, and we made the change. But you're never going to have no injuries. But as I mentioned, it is difficult to quantify what you've prevented. Baltomelo said, Craig, why do I feel wrong for not missing Kloppo? I think it was just the right time. You know, I think it was handled as well as we could expect. The replacement was an absolutely top-notch choice from the owners and the recruitment team. And Arne Slot has made it a very easy transition for us fans. You know, he's always crediting Jurgen for what he did before and the squad he inherited. So I understand it, you know. It's okay to like Arne as well. It just felt it did feel like a natural time to say goodbye to Jurgen. I'm just glad that he made the call and that it never came down to a call from the club or anything like that, because Jurgen had earned that right to make that decision himself. So yeah, I think you should feel bad about it, mate. You know, we all loved Jurgen, but, you know, he made his decision. We respect that decision. And, you know, Arne's now the gaffer. Jota and Kanade both got injured due to tackles. Yeah, I mean, Jota was landed on, was unfortunate. The Kanade injury was Endrick being a little scummy shit. Let's be honest, call a spade here. He came on and was putting it about and left it on Kanade completely unnecessarily. You know, we've got to call that out as well. Endrick was a scummy little fuck that night when he came on. He was. Till Sheen said, great numbers on Red Mist today, Craig. Very good for early beginnings. Yeah, but I was frustrated with two things, mate. One, I'm not happy with where the chat's at on the Red Mist, and I won't be resting until it's sorted out, because respect is important to me. And nobody was really having a pop at me too much, but I seen some misogynistic stuff. I seen some blatantly unacceptable comments in there that I'm going to root out, because I don't know who lets people away with this shit, but it ain't going to be happening on any of my streams. People deserve to be respected when they come in, and everybody in there deserves that respect. So that's one thing. And then my internet connection, man, I felt so bad because I was letting Lee down. Endrick will not make it at a big club. I can tell his attitude stinks. Klopp was Shankly, but now Slot is Paisley, said Craig. Fair, brother. Jota is injured too, but would you put Canada in the same boat? As injury prone, I'd definitely say Fergal. I have concerns about Canada and muscle injuries, yes. This one, like Jota's last injury, I don't know if it is down to his body or the unfortunate nature of it. But yeah, look, I've said since Canada's come to the club, I'm always concerned that he has, a muscle niggle. I am. But he's done very well until that incident. He's from the Ipswich game all the way through since he's played. I mean, what a run of games we've got, and that partnership with himself and Virgil have looked top notch. VVD pushed Endrick into Canada. Mate, just do me a favour, Toby. Go back and watch from the minute Endrick came on that pitch and count up how many people he kicked. Follow when he's off the ball as well. Just look at it and go and tell me that he wasn't out there to put it about, because he came on with an attitude, and he came on with a snidey little attitude. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to call this shit out. Same way when Salah was brought down by that other toe rag from Madrid in the Champions League final. Nah, I'm sorry, man. I got to say what I see, and Endrick was being a little shit that day. Soul Killer said, do you think they're delaying the contracts on purpose? We mentioned that earlier on. Like, if the plan is, and I don't think it is, but if the situation was, do the contracts late in January, let's hope that gets us through the window, I'm not having that. Contracts should have been done last summer. East said, got a feeling that Jota leaves next summer. I think Darwin's availability is a huge plus, as is his tireless work. Love Jota, but Darwin is the starter. Well, I definitely feel that Darwin should start on Wednesday, because it's Newcastle away. What a difference he made to us in this fixture. So I feel like he deserves the nod going up to St. James's Park for what he did last time. Till Sheen also said, I think since Klopp has gone, we've realised that we were fatigued too. We just loved him so much we didn't realise. Not conceding first and feeling confident at 1-0 has done wonders for my anxiety. Yeah, it was definitely unusual looking on at that Man City game, being 1-0 up and feeling confident, even at 1-0. I didn't really ever feel like we were going to concede in that game. I thought we managed the whole thing really well. Missed chances that we shouldn't have missed, but I get where you're coming from completely. It is a lovely balance that Ireland has managed to strike so far between the attacking and defending. Do I think Kwanzaa could become a right back? No, I don't think he has the pace to become a right back or to get up and down that wing all day. I wasn't actually overly impressed too, Dave, if I'm being honest, with the little cameo he did have. He was ghosted past by Doku a few times and left for dust. But look, he did a job, so credit. Do you think Pep would have been sacked if not for the new contract? No, Pep's unsackable at Manchester City. And rightly so. You can't sack him. You cannot. Just like we said about Jurgen, that it was the right decision for Jurgen to make that call. Absolutely as well. There's this, you can't be, no way. He made that club relevant. He couldn't sack him. You might have to tell him very sternly behind the scenes his time is up. But ultimately, it has to be his call in that scenario for me. Any injury updates? Yes, so speaking with David earlier, he said that Alisson and Chiesa are very, 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 very close. In fact, maybe in the squad this weekend. Jota, I'm not sure on. Costa's a week or two yet by the looks of it. He said there's a chance we could see Canade play again in December, but Conor Bradley will probably be the other side of the new year. And I think that was all of them that we covered. Bass Broke said, personally, I think we should get another attacker together with a midfielder in January transfer window. Jota is very injury prone and we need to avoid losing our attacking depth. Yeah, and also we need to get a read on how Chiesa is going to be able to play and stay fit in the Premier League. You know, if Federico Chiesa can come back from this pre-season that he's been given and not pick up a knock or an injury between now and the end of the season, that would be a great indication as well moving forward that we can rely on him. You can't carry too many potentially injury-prone players in any position. Jack said, what's wrong with our recruitment? Why do you think it's been so bad over the last few windows? A combination of who was in charge of the recruitment. So I do question some of Jurgen's transfer decisions, to be honest with you, I do. The fact that we had a sticking plaster on the sporting director position with George Schmadtke, who was basically Klopp's mate, I don't think that stood in good stead. Between that and me being absolutely convinced that the owners are cheap, you know, I think that's a large part of it. You know, you hope to have more. Like, there was this time there where I was wondering what the fuck was going on. You know, because Edwards left, then we had, what was the dude's name that was promoted up to him after Edwards left? What's his name? Sorry, can't think of his name. For Julian Ward. So Julian Ward gets promoted up to sporting director. Then he decides he's leaving quite quickly. Then Kloppo brings in his mate. That was never really permanent. And then we end up bringing in Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards above him again. So, you know, that was a lack of stability as well around who's making the decisions. We probably need a new striker that's more robust than Jota and more consistent than Darwin. I think Omar Marmoush could be that new forward. Where he plays across the front line, I guess, remains to be seen. We need the club to make his decision on Mo too. If the call is Mo to go in the summer, bring somebody in January, for sure let them adapt, because let's be honest, Chiesa is not a Mo replacement. I don't know what Chiesa is yet, in all honesty. He describes himself as a winger, but we know he played most of his time at Juventus through the middle. When he played for us, if my memory's right, it was through the middle. So I don't even know what to expect yet of position-wise for Chiesa. Actually, a little bit of an injury update from a Newcastle perspective ahead of the game on Wednesday. Alexander Isak is fit and he will be playing against us on Wednesday. So just an update on that one, because he was a possible injury doubt for Newcastle. Let me read you through the FA Cup draw, by the way, in case you haven't seen it. I'll take you through the whole draw. It's Southampton against Swansea, Arsenal, Manchester United, Exeter City, Oxford, Leyton Orient, Derby County, Reading, Burnley, Aston Villa, West Ham United, so another all-Premier League tie there, Norwich City versus Brighton, Manchester City against Salford City. Gary Neville will be wetting himself getting to see Pep up close again. Millwall against Dagenham and Redbridge, Liverpool against Accrington Stanley in the local derby. I absolutely love that. Bristol City against Wolves, Preston North End against Charlton, Chelsea against Morecambe, Middlesbrough Blackburn Rovers, Bournemouth West Brom, Mansfield Town against Wigan. Then it's Wickham against Portsmouth, Birmingham against Lincoln, Leeds United against Harrogate, Forest against Luton, Sheffield United against Cardiff City, Ipswich Town versus Bristol Rovers, Fulham against Watford, Palace against Stockport County, Tamworth against Spurs, Hull City versus Doncaster Rovers, Sunderland against Stoke, Leicester City against Queen's Park Rangers, Brentford against Plymouth Argyle, Coventry City against Sheffield Wednesday, Newcastle against Bromley, and the last tie is Everton against Peterborough United. And I'll very much be giving Dara a nudge, the Peterborough United chairman, who's also a Liverpool fan. He'll be relishing the idea of maybe Posh going there and beating Everton. I've no doubt when Dara seen that draw, and I'll drop a little message on this later on, he will have rubbed his hands together at the idea of bringing Peterborough to Goodison. Thoughts on Diaz playing left wing back with 3 centre backs? No, that's not the formation. That's, I don't know where that's come from, but why would we all of a sudden switch to a whole new system that we could have had managers that played that system, but we brought in a manager that plays a similar system to the way Jurgen played because that's the squad we've assembled? It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I don't know. Sorry, I'm laughing at it, but no. Respectfully. Chris, Tat Music, how are you, Chris? Said, alright, Craig, how are we? You know what, mate? I'm embarrassed, is how I am. The whole Wi-Fi thing is doing my head in. Every time it lags, I feel so embarrassed and apologetic. But apart from that, I'm alright. As much as we all love Jurgen, I think Salah has improved a lot of the squad. Gravenberch and Lucho in particular, thoughts? Definitely has improved some players. And that was, again, something that was spoken about, that he wants to come in and improve what is here. And it's not a knock on Jurgen to say that he's improved some of these players, because Jurgen brought these guys on in his own way. But yeah, I've definitely noticed a difference in Trent defensively. I've noticed a difference in Gakpo. Obviously, we've all seen the Ryan Gravenberch difference, the belief that's shown in him from Arne and what he's done. So yeah, absolutely. Arne Slot has improved players and hopefully continues to do so. Please play football bingo. It sounds interesting. I don't know, never seen the game, but it sounds interesting. Barry, how are you, Barry? Barry Greenberg said, funny Liverpool versus Accrington Stanley. Well, if you saw the TV advert a long time ago, everybody who played Accrington is usually full of Scousers. That's if you eat your shreddies. Yeah, and the milk ad. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. My dad said, if I drink all my milk, when I grow up, I could be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. I remember that ad, mate. I'm old enough to remember that ad. And it was a belter of an ad as well. You should use an Ethernet cable. It's done wonders for me. It won't make any difference, because the problem is with a box outside the house. That's what we're waiting for. My broadband is ridiculously fast when it works right. Like, it's 500, but we're waiting for a box outside the house that requires an external engineer to fit and fix, and we're kind of just at the behest of them at this point, and it's really frustrating when your livelihood depends on the internet. So I've tried an Ethernet cable. It didn't make it any better, believe it or not. So yeah, gotta wait for that box to be fixed. Regan said, as a United fan, how do we draw Arsenal? Dude, we've had some horrible cup draws in recent years, like loads of all Premier League ties. So I feel your pain, but I still think oh, you're a United fan? Yeah, no, sorry, you're getting beaten. Sorry. I was gonna say I still think you beat them, thinking you're an Arsenal fan, but no, I don't think you're getting beaten. Or I don't think you're winning. Sorry. If you sign a contract with Sky, then you can do them for breach. They might get it fixed quickly. Again, for Sky, to their credit, they're waiting on another external company who take care of this. So everyone's passing the buck, and I'm still paying me 60 quid a month for the broadband. But yeah. I mean, I feel like I've given me missus a headache, because I'm moaning at her every day and she's moaning at them, and I just wanted to get sorted, to be honest with you. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a night, because I've got to go and re-record the preview that I had thought I'd recorded, but apparently it wanted to disconnect my microphone, so I'm going to have to re-record that again. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Preview is going to be coming out tomorrow morning, so do keep an eye out for that one. We did put the interview with David Lynch out at 7 o'clock this evening, so if you have a chance, please do check that one out. And of course, myself and Lee were live on the Red Mist podcast earlier on. We'll be back on Thursday with another episode of that, so keep an eye out for a few clips on that coming there. Let's just end this poll before we finish up. So have we been let down in the midfield search with the failures? 78% of you guys said yes, we have been let down. And yes, I agree with the 78%. I believe we absolutely have. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Do drop a like for me before you head off. Again, appreciate you tonight, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Much love. Bye.